So, creating your sponsorship offering. Why do sponsors sponsor? So over on that side, we're going to talk about what a sponsor needs to support their marketing strategies. And over this side, we're going to say what can a sports property offer to meet that need. So a primary thing that brands do tend to want and look for through sponsorship is brand awareness. Sometimes it's less important, but generally it's there. They need to know how many people are going to see their brand and on how many occasions. So what you need to then look at in terms of inventory is your advertising channels. Now, depending on what your property is, this could be television coverage, it could just be website, it could be logos on a t-shirt, it could be coverage from the local press, it could be putting a sponsor's logo on an application form, on a press release, on a ticket, who knows, but they're all advertising channels, the ways for people to see a sponsor's brand as often as possible. Another sponsor need, and these aren't in any order of importance, although people do tend to ask first, how much brand awareness will I get, how much exposure? Obviously, sponsors are always looking for a competitive advantage. If it's the Hilton Hotel, they want to be doing something that Holiday Inn isn't doing or Marriott isn't doing. So every sponsor looks for a level of exclusivity. And I say a level because every company expects a different level depending on who they are, how good they are at negotiating and how big their businesses are. This actually affects you when you start thinking about how many sponsors you need to fund whatever it is you're trying to fund. You've got to think about how they can all sit alongside each other and not conflict with the areas of exclusivity. Cut through the media clutter. I mean, we talked about brand awareness being important, but one of the primary reasons sponsors do sponsor is because they want to actually get away from that traditional advertising and really cut through and get through to people when they're least expecting it. I just think about advertising boards at a sporting event. You're watching the athletes, whether they're football players or basketball players or athletes, you're focusing on them and there's all these advertising boards in the background. You don't realise it, but it's cutting through, it's getting into your subliminal, it's getting through subliminal messaging. And that's another thing that brands look for. How can I get my brand into this person's mind without being really upfront and too in your face about it? Promotional opportunities. I mentioned earlier that sponsorships don't necessarily drive a person to action like an advert does. An advert says, buy this before Friday and it'll only cost you £1.99. Sponsorship doesn't do that unless you tie in some really nice promotional opportunities. Buy 6 of these and you get to present the trophy, or you get the chance to present the trophy. Buy 12 of these and you get to shake a footballer's hand. That's a promotional opportunity. It's a unique experience. So again, when you think about whatever it is you're working on, think about unique opportunities. And they don't all have to be about footballers, you know, meeting famous footballers. One of the things that's really valuable to employers is an opportunity to reward their staff and make them feel special. So if you're here representing, even if it's a grassroots netball tournament, to award somebody with a chance of presenting the trophy to the winning team, even though they're not famous, even though it's not going to be on television, is actually a really nice, unique experience because it makes that person, that individual, feel special. They'll get the photo in the paper, they'll be courted, they'll be sat at ringside and they'll be treated as a VIP. That's a unique experience and that's what sponsors are looking for. Brand association, this is another very important point, and we slightly touched on it when I talked about the community. Corporate brands or corporate organisations look for a sponsorship that's going to sit alongside them and meet their needs. As an example, again, I'm talking elite sports here, but Rolex would never sponsor, or it's very unlikely Rolex would sponsor a darts tournament because darts and the smoking and the beer and the men with the big bellies doesn't quite sit nicely with smart, sophisticated people who spend an awful lot of money on Rolex watches. Rolex probably would sponsor polo. So that brand association is really important. Whatever it is that you're representing and working, think about what your sport represents and who it talks to and who it engages with, and think about the brands and the companies that want to talk to the same people. And hospitality opportunities, whatever your sport or event is, you do have hospitality opportunities. Doesn't always mean a 3-course sit-down meal. It could mean the opportunity to be a referee or a judge, or again part of the trophy presentation party. Those are very valuable aspects for a corporate sponsor wanting either to entertain customers or customers' children, or to provide the staff with an opportunity to be motivated. Somebody who's got a 100% attendance record might get to have the day off and go and swan about at a local swim-in gala that's been sponsored by their employer. So those are the key things that a sponsor looks for when they're looking at a property to sponsor, and that's how you meet their needs. That's what you can look at in your inventory and marry up what you've got to offer with what they're looking for. Oh, sorry, last one, business development. This one actually doesn't occur too often, but there are some examples where it has. If your event can actually offer a direct business development opportunity, make sure you point that out as well. Make sure you explore that one. And it could just be networking with like-minded individuals. For example, if you're going to a printer, a local printer, and asking them to sponsor, what you can tell them is that you've got 12 other sponsors who are all local companies who need print services, and you'll make sure you introduce them to them all, put the business cards out and provide a networking opportunity. You could even go so far as introduce them to potential prospects, bring together all your sponsors, give the printer an opportunity to stand up and talk about his services, or you can give them an opportunity to showcase their abilities. Again, using the printer example, if this printer has produced all the material for everything that you need for your sporting event, then you can tell people that it was Call Quick or Mr. Joe Blogg's printer, and that's a showcase for their talent and the ability in their services. So moving on, key elements of just to summarise, key elements of a good sponsorship: brand exposure, and again, whether it's TV, print, internet, Twitter, stationery, it doesn't matter. If you've got an aspect of some level of brand exposure, you're ticking a box for a sponsor. Brand association, going back to the example, make sure you think about what your property is all about and target the companies that are relevant to that. Try and come up with some unique opportunities, and everybody has them. Whatever's property you're representing here, you have unique opportunities. And if you think you don't, tell me what you represent afterwards, and I'll try and think of some that I would consider unique for you. It's not all about being in the corporate hospitality box at Old Trafford. One-to-one communication, that networking, that business development opportunity, a chance either through databases or specific publications or channels for the sponsor to actually talk one-on-one with potential clients.